Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm going to review The Northman. The Northman is the newest film directed by Robert Eggers, who's done some of my favorite films of all time, including The Lighthouse and The Witch. This film tells the story of a Viking prince named Amleth, played by Alexander Skarsgard, who is going on this epic journey to avenge his father's death. Now, I'll try to be pretty light on the spoilers in this review because it is a really good movie. I definitely recommend you checking it out. And there are some little twists and turns. It went in a different direction than I was expecting it to go. Everyone in this movie gives a pretty phenomenal performance, in my opinion. Alexander Skarsgard is really good. It might be his best performance I've seen since maybe Big Little Lies, and it's a very physical role for him. He's very foreboding. He has this animalistic brutality to him. He's someone who's filled with rage and obsessed with revenge, but then deep in his soul, he has almost this softness for his past, but he's so corrupted by this anger and this hatred for the one who killed his father. The actual real standouts in this movie is Nicole Kidman. She plays his mother in the film, and even though she doesn't have a ton of lines in it, and she's actually sparingly in and out of the movie, the parts where she does have an opportunity to speak are fantastic. I mean, she absolutely knocks it out of the park in this one scene where she's giving a monologue. It's just so good. All the writing in this movie is really well done, and it skirts a really good line between being too archaic and hard to understand while still having some modernisms to it that make it easier and more accessible for a general audience. And that's what I really appreciate about this movie. It could have easily been a really, really dense movie that's really hard to understand, but they were able to introduce some really interesting Nordic themes and all the things involving this Nordic mythology and the supernatural elements, the Valkyries, Odin, Valhalla, all the things they added into it, but still making it enough of a movie that's accessible for a regular audience, like I said. And speaking of all those elements, the costume design, the armory, all the things that they decided to do when it comes to the production of this movie, it's really well done. You've seen in his earlier films, obviously they looked good, but they were a much, much smaller budget. I actually looked it up, and this movie is 10 times the budget of his last two films, and I think they made a really good use of it. The film's also shot in Iceland, which I've been to recently. Beautiful country, and they make, like I said, great use of that cinematography. And having a Nordic Viking film taking place in Iceland, being filmed there, I think just adds another element to it. All the sweeping landscapes and kind of the isolation of being on this little island with the foreboding volcanoes in the background, the ocean, the black beaches, the sweeping green hills, everything about it just works really, really well. And I could tell this movie actually paid a pretty great attention to detail. I'm not an expert on Nordic mythology or Nordic traditions, but it felt like they introduced some really small details that maybe someone who isn't so seasoned would miss, like myself, but there's just tons of little references to, like I said, the mythology, the armor, the lifestyle, the culture of these people, and it also integrates it along the lines with, some pagan religions, because there's some slaves that are sent back and forth. There's also references to Christianity and the kind of the clashing of those cultures together, and it melts it together in a way. It's just really well written. Robert Eggers brought back the cast, pretty much the entire cast from The Witch to some degree. More of a larger role was given to Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays kind of almost a love interest in this film. And that's one of the things I like about it, is it feels like a classical saga that it is based off of, but interjects, some love stories, revenge. It has all those classic themes that are timeless. And I think that is why it works so well, particularly, I think, for modern audiences. The one character I do wish was in it a little bit more was Willem Dafoe's character. He plays this mystical jester-like character in the beginning of the film, and he is kind of introduced in a way later on in the movie, but like I said, everyone that gets an opportunity in this movie just eats up their roles, and he does a fantastic job. I wish I would have seen more of him. And the fantastical supernatural elements of the movie, I think, in my opinion, don't feel too overwhelming. Like, they're slowly introduced, and by the end of the film, it kind of goes full bore into that, but I like the fact that it keeps it grounded enough to follow, but introduces those elements enough to make it just that much more interesting. The movie also has some really good set design, like I said. They build this Viking village. There's some really intense scenes that take place on the ocean. The ending scene is kind of crazy, everything that's happening there. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you see it, you'll see how crazy intense this movie ends up getting towards the end of the film. But I like that it kind of sparingly uses CGI. It's in it a little bit. They use it particularly for a wolf character that's helping guide him. It's kind of like his spirit guide in a way. And it interjects it enough that it elevates the film, but it isn't invasive. Like, the whole movie isn't just a ton of CGI. There are moments where it stands out. It doesn't look perfect, but I think it's used sparingly enough that it works out really well. I think all of the themes really shine through in this film. It doesn't hit you over the head too much for trying to tell you what it's about, but like I said, it works on those classic tales, the tales of revenge and family and love and all those things that fuel people and then has a really, in my opinion, satisfying ending, because even though some people might be a little disappointed with it, I could understand why. Maybe they feel it's a little anticlimactic. I feel like it fully completes the arc of the character and the story it's trying to tell, and him kind of reaching his ultimate goals. So if I were to rate this movie, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I don't know if I like it quite as much as The Witch. I really love that movie. It's just perfect as its own little film that it is. This is far more epic and far more intense, and the use of brutality and everything about it works really well, but just I have a soft spot for that film, but definitely another top tier film from him. Something I can't wait to see where he's going forward. Now he's getting these larger budgets. I know he had said he would never work on a modern film, and I kind of like that. He's done a really good job doing these more historical pieces, and I can't wait to see what comes from him next. So that was my review for The Northman. If you've seen it, let me know what you think about it. How does it rank as far as Robert Eggers' films for you? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Maybe you didn't enjoy it. I would love to hear maybe someone who went into it and it didn't, work out exactly how they thought it would see. So I'd love to see that different opinion. Leave those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.